Hi there and welcome to Revise the Right Way with me, Mr. Bell. This is the second of the 5-minute analysis videos that I've done, and I'm enjoying doing this format, but let me know what you think so far in the comments below, and if you really enjoyed it, please share and subscribe. That would be really helpful. She had had her first love affair when she was 16, with a party member of 60 who later committed suicide to avoid arrest. "And a good job too," said Julia. "Otherwise they'd have had my name out of him when he confessed." Since then there'd been various others. Life as she saw it was quite simple. You wanted a good time. They, meaning the party, wanted to stop you having it. You broke the rules as best you could. So there's a lot going on in this passage, and when we start we have a couple of interesting things to focus on. When you look in the first 3 lines here, we have 5 examples of sibilance here. And this emphasis on repetition, alliteration, sibilance is making her decline inevitable because there's a continuation of her risk and reward, and over time, when it says she had had, there's a sense that because it's in the past tense, that it's almost suggesting that this period of her life is coming to a close. Even when it says avoid arrest, there's this sense with the sibilance as well that none of this is going to continue. And when she describes the good job, it's interesting because there's almost like this dual meaning, as though death is a part of the survival of the entire party. Death, regeneration, and therefore getting rid of the old population who knew what was happening, and therefore over time you can control people better. Her language is described as simple, and it perhaps does a couple of things, which reduces the severity in their minds of what they're doing. Even though they know it's risky, they're trying to make it seem as if it's not. But it also suggests that language for the younger generation has been reductive, and it's been stripped away, that they don't have the words to express perhaps how she really feels, or to truly even consider in a way that Winston does. She seemed to think it just as natural that they should want to rob you of your pleasures as that you should want to avoid being caught. She hated the party, and said so in the crudest words, but she made no general criticism of it. Except where it touched upon her own life, she had no interest in party doctrine. He noticed that she never used newspeak words, except the ones that had passed into everyday use. She'd never heard of the Brotherhood, and refused to believe in its existence. And so here there's a couple of interesting things, and there's obviously more I could say, but for this video I'm going to focus on the crudest words and the Brotherhood. And the crudest words, the fact is, Winston doesn't repeat the crude words that she says, and perhaps that suggests that there's a limitation in Winston's language, or maybe even there's a fear behind it. If he even thinks these words, he could get in trouble with the Fort Police, and therefore he can only say it in this way. And this serves to distance the two characters. And the fact is, when she refers to the Brotherhood, this reinforces that she's focused on her own selfish interests and desires, and she's only really out for herself. The Brotherhood could be arguably some kind of veiled metaphor to represent Winston and his idea of the new world, but she rejects it because it's of no interest or value to her as a person. Any kind of organised revolt against the party, which was bound to be a failure, struck her as stupid. The clever thing was to break the rules and stay alive all the same. He wondered vaguely how many others like her there might be in the younger generation, people who'd grown up in the world of the revolution, knowing nothing else, accepting the party as something unalterable, like the sky, not rebelling against its authority, but simply evading it, as a rabbit dodges a dog. And so the whole point of this passage is that there's a clear divide between Winston and Julia. Winston seems to look down on her intellectually. She is described as being only interested in these very simplistic things of breaking the rules and staying alive, and not thinking beyond it. And the fact that the younger generation are seeing this as very natural, and the comparisons with the natural world, including the use of similes of like the sky and as a rabbit dodges a dog, just reinforces the idea that their relationship is bound to fail. Throughout this entire introductory period, Julia acts as some kind of like bastion of hope, that she might represent a bright new future, but eventually they succumb to this idea that, like she said before, this revolt is bound to be a failure and struck her as stupid. So maybe she isn't as stupid as Winston initially suggests. So there you have it. Julia and Winston, are they star-crossed lovers doomed to failure from the start, or is it a little bit more complicated than that? I'd really like to hear what you think, and as before, comment below, let me know what you think and what you'd like to see next. Thank you.